Hi, this is Mike Shilley. Today I'm going to show you how to put a new fan into a Tivo stream. This is a device that you can have your Tivo stream to the rest of the network basically. It works on mobile devices. It's kind of neat. The only problem is that it is really loud. If you plug that in real quick, you can probably hear it. There's a fan in there that makes a lot of noise. So I decided to replace that fan by another one that I just ordered from Newegg for a couple of bucks, and I'll show you how to do that today. So to replace that fan, unplug the device, always a good idea if you're working on something electrical, and peel off these rubber feet of the Tivo stream. If you do that the first time, you might use some force, but there's really nothing but the glue that holds them on. Then you need one of these fancy hex screwdrivers. The Tivo uses those all over the place so that the regular user can't open it, but you can just order those online on Amazon, for example. So let's open up these screws real quick. And then we can look into the inside of the Tivo stream and localize that noisy fan. These are the 4 screws total at the corners, very easy to remove. And then you just remove that back plate and you get the main board here, and the fan is sitting on top of it. To remove the fan, you need a Phillips screwdriver and loosen those 2 screws. It's 4 holes on the fan, but it's only 2 screws that hold them in place. And this connector, just remember that the red wire is closer to the Ethernet port so that we plug it in correctly afterwards. Now if you use a flathead, you can kind of wiggle this thing out and remove the entire fan, so you can see the cooling device for the CPU, which apparently gets very hot when the unit is transcoding. Now apparently the problem with this fan is that it's so thin, dictated by the form factor of this box. It's only 7 millimeters tall, and apparently it has to spin very fast in order to get an airflow going. Had they designed it so that a fan of, let's say, 10 millimeter would have fit in there, would have been much easier, and you could have used a silent fan. So I looked around a little bit online and found this fan on Newegg. It is called EC4007. The 7 stands for the 7 millimeters apparently, and it's made by Evercool. The problem with this is that it's a 12 volt fan, while the unit here uses 5 volts, but I tried it out and it spins a little bit slower, makes it a little bit more silent, and hopefully it's gonna get enough cooling going on so that the CPU won't overheat. So as you can see, this fan comes with 3 wires, a red one, a black one, and a yellow one. We only need the red and the black one. The yellow one we can forget about. So I also bought one of these connectors on eBay in order to fit that in later. So what I'm going to do is fit these together with a wire nut and then plug everything together and see if it works. Actually, I just found out by trying that this connector I bought from eBay doesn't even fit there. So I guess what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut the old fan's wire here somewhere in the middle so that I can reattach it if necessary. And I'm going to connect this to the new fan. I'm going to need a little bit of wire, but not too much, so that it can fit in here. Let's cut that as well. And then just get the isolation off here. Let's strip those. Let's wind those up. And maybe fold them so that it gets a little thicker, so that it takes up enough room in the wire nut. And the same goes for these two. Also removing the isolation, winding them up, and then fold them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use one of these wire nuts, smallest size available, and connect black to black and red to red. Screw those on. Maybe mix them beforehand so that they connect, and then screw the wire nut on. Same goes for the red wire. Here you go. It's not pretty, but it works. So now I need to put that fan on using the 2 Phillips screws again. So this new fan will spin a little slower, but hopefully cool the CPU enough to avoid overheating it. Here's the other screw. Should sit pretty tight, but not too tight. It's just a fan after all. It's not a cooling element. So to make sure that this isn't going to get in the way of anything, I'm going to cut this very short, right there, maybe even shorter. Here you go. And then I'm gonna plug this guy in with the red wire facing the Ethernet plug, like this, and then I'll plug it in there. Hide these as well as possible, and then put everything back together. Actually, before we do that, we can give it a quick test run. I'm going to plug this in, which I can safely do because it's 12 volts and not the power line, and you can see that the fan is spinning fairly slow speed, but it's still some airflow going on here, and if you listen to it, you can hardly hear that it's working. So that's pretty good. Let's put it back together. Okay, so turn this board around so that the Ethernet port faces this hole. Make sure everything fits nicely, and then we're going to put those screws back in place after we put this back in place. This way, I think. Yeah, that's it. So it lines up perfectly. There's only one way to put that in. And then let's just put the screws back in and put those rubber feet in place after we're done with that. And then I'm gonna run it for a couple of hours and figure out whether the cooling is sufficient even with the slower fan speed, but it's definitely a lot quieter. It was really annoying having it next to the stereo equipment. If you constantly have this whining fan noise, that's totally gone now. So I'm excited to try this out. Let's put the rubber feet back on and give it a try on the TV. So, success. I just plugged it in for about an hour and had it stream an entire show to my iPhone, and the unit got a little warm, but it used to do the same thing when the other fan was in, so I see virtually no difference between the two fans, except that one that I bought and put in is a lot less noisier. Hope that helps. Maybe you can do the same thing, or maybe you'll find even a quieter fan, but it's different to find it in the 7mm form factor. If you do, let me know. Comment on the video and have fun.